but I want to create a new order for a new shipment that a customer has given me, and I want to provide a rate for that shipment. What you will do is click on the New Order button in the top right corner, and you can either choose from one of the recently used customer profiles, or you can search for a specific customer. So let's say I want to create an order for my customer Acme Company. When I click Create, it's going to take me to the Order Details page. This is where I'm going to define all of the details about the shipment. Where is it going? When does it need to get there by? How much freight is being moved? So I'm going to start by pointing out that the shipper information was pre-populated. That's because the Acme customer profile has default billing terms that are set to prepaid. If you want to change that, there's another video on it, and you can do that from the customer profile module. In the consignee field, I'm going to type in the name of a destination. So if you notice, there's a list that appears. This is coming from the customer's address book. So every customer, Acme in this case, has an address book where you can store profiles. If, however, you are shipping to a place that you've never been to before, the system is going to let you know that there's no address book entries found, and then what you can do is click Search Google. What the system will do is bring back all the relevant results based on the information that you put into this field. So let's say I'm going to Acme Architectural Hardware. When I click on that, it's going to pre-populate all the information for me. It's a good idea to double check this information, and it's also a good idea to add any unique identifiers if you want to make sure that the address book location that gets saved saves with that particular information. So for example, at some point later on, this location that I've taken from Google, it is going to be saved against the customer's address book. But if I want to be able to search in the future by the location's reference number, let's say it was 777, I should add that to this field. Now it will save with that unique identifier, and I can use that to search for the location next time. Here is where you put reference numbers. So there is a field for purchase order numbers, there is a field for generic reference numbers, and there is a field for load tender numbers. Whatever you put into these fields, you will be able to use later to quickly find this order. So if a customer calls you or emails you or has a question about their order and they only have the PO number, you can use it to find this order in the system. If you don't like how these fields are named, you can rename them, and we can talk about that in another video. If you have multiple reference numbers, my suggestion is that you separate it either by a comma, so you can put as many field numbers into this field as you want, or use some other unique character to separate the different numbers. Here is where I'm going to define when the shipment is expected to be picked up and when is expected to be delivered. So let's say I want to pick this shipment up today and I want it to be delivered tomorrow. So if you notice, the start and end dates auto-populated with the date that you selected, and the current time was populated into the start and end time fields. If you want to change these, what you should do is double click on the field, and then what I do is I just type in the number. So for example, 8 a.m. When I click enter, the system's going to know what that is, and it's going to update to the correct format. So for example, if this was supposed to deliver at 2 in the afternoon, let's say, or pick up, I should say, no later than 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I type in 2 p.m. and then click enter. So let's say the shipment is going to be delivering tomorrow between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. And now I have defined the pickup and delivery times. In the special instructions section, this is of course where I can put important information that the driver or the dispatcher needs to know about the order. So for example, driver must go to back door first. Any information that you want the dispatcher or the driver to see should be put here. In the accessorial section, this is where I can add any value-added service charges that I need to provide a rate for in the order. So for example, if let's say this was an after-hours delivery, I'm going to add after-hours delivery as an accessorial, so that way I can define the cost to the customer for this amount, for this service. In the description field, I'm going to define what it is that I'm moving. So you must put a description. So if you want to put freight of all kinds, you can do that. Let's say it's one skid, a standard skid size, and it is 1,200 pounds. If you have multiple items to ship, you can click Add Commodity and add more information about the next commodities, the other commodities that are being shipped. So let's say I've got 2 other skids. They're a bit longer. 3,000 pounds. All right. Once you've finished adding all of the information to the order, click the Next button in the top right corner. So remember I said that the system would try and save the address book location. That's what it's doing here. So if I click yes, the next time that I go to create an order for Acme Company, it is going to search for this location and it will bring it back as a potential. So you don't have to click search Google anymore. Okay, so the system now has attempted to rate the shipment. This particular example is not connected to any predetermined rates or tariffs. We'll talk about that in another video. What I want to do here is simply add a manual spot quote. So to do that, I'm going to click on the Add Spot Quote button. And this is going to bring up a page where I can define the rates for the different items. So for example, if I wanted to say that this shipment was going to be $2,000 in freight charges with 20% fuel with a $100 accessorial charge, I can define them in these fields and then click Publish Quote. You might also want to change the type of quote you're creating. So for example, if I wanted to generate a rate per mile with a fuel surcharge per mile, I can choose from this these drop-down options and change it. So here I would say this shipment is going to be 2,000 miles at a rate of $2.25 a mile. Therefore, the charges are going to be $4,500. And of course, you would repeat those steps for the other 2 fields. You can also choose to do a flat fuel amount. So I'm changing this to a flat fuel amount. And let's say I want to charge $200 for fuel. If you want to add some miscellaneous items for, let's say, items that are one-off and you don't have a specific accessorial for, you can click Add Line Item, Add Miscellaneous, and then give it a definition and then give it an amount. You can also see that there are some trash cans here. So of course, if you want to delete anything, just click the trash can and it will now eliminate that item from the quote. When you click Publish Quote, it's now going to lock this rate in associated with this order. So by taking these steps, I'm now saying that to my company, this order is worth $4,800 in revenue. And this is probably what I'm going to be charging the customer for later. All you have to do next is click Select and then Confirm. And this takes the order to booked status. Book status is important because now legs are associated with the order. And legs are something that we're also going to learn about in another video. But the point here is that the order has made it to book status, which is important because legs now exist. And legs are what dispatchers are going to use to plan the load. And at the bottom, I've created a quote. If you ever want to change the quote, just click on the link that says Details. Click Edit Quote. And now you can make any change you want to this quote.